I'm going to focus on just how to test ads properly, because we get a lot of questions on in the free school and in our Leadbase bootcamp, which is going to be called Leadbase Pro pretty soon here. We're kind of rebranding that a little bit. So we get a lot of feedback on Leadbase Pro because there's people coming on calls every single week in there. We're kind of seeing what people are working on. And a big thing is definitely struggling with just how to test ads efficiently and then how to scale the winners. So we kind of created a framework that's a 1-2 punch for this. Let me pull up a little screen share here. So I'll go over the framework. I'll go over some, I ran some quick examples or set up some campaigns that I'm be able to show you just some screenshots of where I'm running some testing phases, and then I'll show you a campaign where I ran a bit more of a scaling phase, and then I'll show you even for one of our clients an example of how it actually affected their sales. Because if you don't know, we don't just teach the stuff. We actually have clients that we sell leads to. We're actually partnered with a couple clients as well on kind of some hybrid deals as well. So this is stuff that we do every day and that we're kind of like learning as we go, because this stuff changes all the time. And then at the end of this, I'll kind of give you guys a little sneak peek on something that we're working on that's I think is pretty cool. First of all, just show of hands, who here has already run, let's say first off, if you've just run a Facebook ad, put your hand up, or you could do like the little hand emoji there, whatever. Okay, so a couple people have run ads before. Who here has never run an ad before? Anybody? I guess I'm like not really. I'll lower all first. I'll lower all the hands, and then I'll ask again. Who here has never run an ad before? Gotcha, just a few people. So some people have experience here. There's definitely a lot of different kind of methods for testing, and I don't think there's necessarily one way that's perfect or the only way to do things. This is what has worked for us, and this is something that we've been developing and testing ourselves. And then also we have some other coaches in Leadbase Pro that use this method. I don't know if you guys may have jumped on George's call. I think he did one in free a month ago. This is something that he kind of started testing with and that we worked with him on. And again, it's worked really well for us, and I think it's a really good way to do things efficiently. So without further ado, we'll jump in here. So as I said, there's kind of two phases that we like to kind of use here, and it is a bit of a rinse and repeat as well. So testing phase, I'm just going to jump right into this, guys. Hope that's cool. If you have any questions, by the way, just put them in the chat, and as things go, I'll just go based on the chat priority. We can kind of answer some questions afterwards. So when we're setting up Facebook ads, again, there's not really one right way to do things. What is the most important thing is having strong creatives, having a strong offer, having a strong hook, making sure your ads actually differentiate you from other people running ads. Because if yours just look like every other ad, in the ads library, or your ads are just like, click to learn more, or, just really simple stuff that everybody else is running, none of this is really going to matter. And obviously we have a lot of videos about how to generate, really strong creatives on YouTube. We're also kind of rolling out some new templates and kind of training you guys as well on how to create better ads. We're actually completely redoing the course in Leadbase free as well, to kind of just reflect, to really focus on the creative, and then how do we test that creative. So again, this is kind of a sneak peek into all of that. But anyways, in terms of testing, we like to start with a testing phase and be able to test as many kind of images and videos as possible. So traditionally, I have kind of done this manually, where I'm usually just throwing a bunch of ads into an ad set and then kind of letting Facebook do things for me. So Facebook will typically, like it might do something like if you had a single ad set. Let me move myself over here. If you had a single ad set and you just threw 10 ads in there, you might have like, let's just say you had 5 ads in there. If you had a $50 per day ad set budget, one of your ads might get like $47 in spend, and these might get like $3. But this ad might not necessarily be the winning ad, because Facebook does a lot of things well, and then they do a lot of things strangely not very well at all. Even though you think they are this huge company that knows what they're doing, half the stuff they do is great, half the stuff they do is terrible. So to solve for this, we want to actually set up a test that allows us to see which of our creatives are performing the best. And we do that by setting up an ad set for every single image that we create and an ad set for every single video we create. So ideally, depending on what your budget is, and this really comes down to how much you're willing to spend when you're testing. If you're selling leads to clients, hopefully you've already got an order in, and this is kind of, you're investing some of the order of the leads that they're paying for into this. Or if you're on retainer, this is something you can say to your client, this is how we test creative. This is, we're going to use the ad spend that you're paying for to run this test. Or if you're generating leads for yourself, it's going to come down to what your budget is. So ideally, we'd be creating 10 image creatives and 10 video creatives. That could just be 5. That could just be 3. Again, these are things that you can run by me. You can DM me and kind of show me the creatives you're working on, and we can try and get you the best bang for your buck in terms of testing. So even worst case, if you're testing 3 images and 3 videos, that would be 6 ad sets. Does everybody understand how what an ad set is when I say that? Does anybody not understand what an ad set is? And don't be shy. We can talk about that. Seems like everyone has a decent idea. So, and there's basically a campaign, an ad set, and an ad. And at the campaign level, we can set the budget for our entire campaign. Yeah, I'll definitely do a overview. One sec here. Let me pull up Ads Manager. I'll actually just show you a live campaign here. So this is one of our ad accounts here. This is where I run a lot of testing and stuff like that. So basically, the campaign level is here: campaign, ad set, and ad. The campaign houses the ad sets and the ads. We can set the budget at the campaign level, or we can set the budget at the ad set level. I always prefer personally to set the budget at the ad set level. And so usually, this is actually a more scaled ad set here. We've got leads for like $2.92. Inside of this ad set is ads, right? But what we want to do for the test is actually have one ad set for every single ad. And that allows us to ensure that every single ad gets the exact same amount of spend. So for example, I would have, I'll actually just show you another version of this so that you can see the testing. I'll show you after I show you the diagram, guys. Hopefully this will start to make sense. But again, essentially we have a campaign, an ad set, and an ad. And we want to set the budget at the ad set level so that it spends exactly the ad set budget on every single ad. So for example, if we have 3 images and 3 videos and we set them at $2 each in each ad set, each of our 3 videos and 3 images will get $2 of spend per day. But again, if we set it up like this and we threw them all into an ad set, one of those videos might just get all the spend and the other ones won't get any spend. So the purpose of this is just to give us a very scientific test of every single image and video. So every single creative. Does that make sense? Just give me a thumbs up if it makes sense, or a thumbs down. Okay. Cool. Good. So we like to run these tests for about 48 hours. Again, ideally, if you have the budget for it, you'd be testing more creatives. This all comes down to budget. If you could only afford $2 times 3 images and 3 videos, that would obviously be about $12 per day you'd be spending. Did someone ask a question here? Do you recommend spreading it all out and not doing the $47 example? Yeah, so essentially that's exactly what I mean. So we would have, and again, I will show an example of this, but we would have our 3 videos, okay? And we would have our 3 images, and they would be all in their own ad set. So we'd have 3 ad sets each, 3 ad set videos, 3 ad set images, and they'd all be spending $2 per day. That's how we're spreading it out. And that way we know each of them will get $2 per day. And in terms of determining between $2 and $10, this really comes down to the niche that you're in. If you're in a niche where the leads cost quite a bit less, for example, insurance, you can probably get away with spending $2 per ad set. If you're in a niche like roofing, you probably have to spend closer to $10. The reason for this is we want to be able to get at least one click on our ads per day, because what we're actually looking for is to determine the click-through rate on our ads. To determine the percent of people that click through our ad, we have to actually get clicks. The problem with roofing is a click might cost $5. So if we're spending $2 per day, we're not even able to get a click per day. That's not going to work in terms of us being able to test this properly. So again, we have to determine that kind of like a little bit beforehand. So again, if you're in insurance, if you're in, trying to think of another cheap of lead cost, even like maybe mortgage is a little bit cheaper. Like some of the financial products can be cheaper. Roofing and solar tend to be a little bit more expensive. You don't necessarily have to spend $10 per day, but ideally you are spending a little bit more per ad set. That being said, if you don't have a huge budget, you could probably get away with $2 regardless. And it's just going to take longer to test that. So I mean, ideally you would just test for a little bit less. Instead of testing for 5 days, just test for 2 days with a little bit more budget, because that is going to allow Facebook to optimize a little bit better. Just going to check the questions here quickly. There's nothing based on that. That's fine. So again, we have the very like minimum. We have 3 ad sets that have videos in them, and 3 ad sets that have images in them. They're spending $2 per day, or maybe it's $5 per day, whatever amount we feel like we need to kind of spend here to get some clicks. And again, we're kind of, just to mention this one more time, insurance leads maybe cost like, if you're doing well, they can cost anywhere from $5 to $20. So at the ad set budget, I want to set that, around like 10% of my lead cost, let's just say, as an example. So if I think leads are going to cost me $20, I want to set my ad set budget at least $2. If my leads are going to cost 100, I want to set my ad set budget at $10 for each of these ad sets. Then we wait 48 hours. Okay, so we let these run for 48 hours. We do not touch them at all. We've got our anywhere from 3 to 10 videos and 3 to 10 images running at whatever our determined budget is. Okay, 48 hours later, the thing that we want to look for, or we want to look at, is the click-through rate, and this is the link click-through rate. Okay, I will show you what that looks like in Ads Manager. I had some screenshots, but it's probably just easier if I just literally show you. So this is exactly what we want to look for in the ads. We might have some leads. That's the first thing. If we have leads, like, okay, well, that's obviously working, and that is the most important thing at the end of the day. If we're generating leads for a cost that makes sense, if we want to generate leads for $20 and we're getting them for $12, I'm going to leave that on, even if the click-through rate isn't great, because that's something we can fix afterwards. But I did run a roofing test for this that I just kind of started recently, and I have some screenshots that I'll share with you guys. It doesn't have any leads yet, but I'm not panicking because I have some good data here. So again, if we were just to run $50 and throw a bunch of ads in, we might not get enough spend to really determine this. But because we're giving this all even spends, we want to drop this down and do performance and clicks, not performance. Performance won't really give us what we want. We want to do performance and clicks. And then we want to look at the CTR link click-through rate. This is what is, most important in this testing phase. We want this to be usually over 1%, ideally over 1.5%. You can see these are pretty clickbaity ads. These are a little bit less clickbaity, but both of these are in the range that I want them to be. So when I'm running a test, I want them to be over 1 to 1.5%, kind of depending on what you're looking at. If you have a bunch of them over 2%, and then maybe you have some that are just barely over 1%, you might just want to turn off the kind of lower performing ones. And so if the CTR is less than 1%, maybe 1.5%, yes, turn the ad off. This is after 48 hours. If the CTR is greater than 1%, then scale it by $1 per day. So if you're at $2 per day, you scale to $3 per day, $4 per day, $5 per day. Once you're at $10, you can scale a little bit faster than that. But this is essentially phase one, is we're just very slowly scaling all these. This is not optimized to really scale in the long term, which is why I'll talk about phase two. But if we have some winners that are emerging from this test, we can actually slowly scale them. If we scale them by $1 per day, we're not going to reset the learning phase, and we're going to kind of be able to like gain a little bit of momentum with the winning ads. And again, this is going to help us determine, you know, the creatives that are people are responding to the best. Does that make sense to everybody? See if there's any questions regarding. Is there any questions regarding that testing phase? Clicks coming through. Any questions that I feel like I can answer after? I will, or wait till the end. We can talk about Facebook warming up and stuff like that afterwards. Cool. Sounds like everyone has an idea of this. I used to, and our course mentions using dynamic creative in this testing phase. I have found that Facebook has just gotten way less efficient. So what it used to really just be an easy way to like, I'm going to throw some ads in, Facebook's going to pretty evenly test them. But now this is happening where I tend to see just one ad getting all the spend and it not really being an effective ad. And I don't know why Facebook does that. So again, this whole testing phase, the goal is to kind of circumvent Facebook's algorithm and just give us an exact scientific test. So that's essentially phase one. Phase two is the scaling phase. So we're going to leave this testing phase running even when we go into the scaling phase. We're going to leave this running. If we had 3 of our ads that continue to stay above 1% CTR, maybe we're picking up some leads. We don't want to turn this off. You know, we don't want to turn the whole campaign off. We want to keep those winning ads running. We want to continue to scale those by about $1 per day. Again, once we're at $10, we can scale a little bit more heavy, like, you know, $2 per day, and just repeat that daily. After, I would say after about 4 or 5 days, you really could run this up to about a week. That's where we want to start to determine, okay, out of these, you know, if we had six creatives, or maybe we had up to 20 creatives, maybe there's 3 to 5 of them that have really strong click-through rates and we've picked up a few leads. So how do we start to scale this campaign? That is the next phase here. Oh, my computer is whacking out right now. Do I still have good connection? Looks like I can see you guys. You're moving around. That's good. My mouse just decided to freak out. So we want to be able to go into this scaling phase with confidence, because again, you guys could be closing, you know, generating these leads for yourself. You could be generating them for clients. If you don't go into the scaling phase with enough confidence to put a budget in place that's going to, you know, help you actually scale, then chances are you're actually going to shoot yourself in the foot a little bit. So the testing phase, when we're running $2 per day ad sets, that is not an ideal ad set budget. Or even if we're running $10, that's not really an ideal ad set budget for Facebook to scale properly and actually see success over time, because it's an auction system and we're essentially bidding on clicks. So again, if a click is $5 and we're only spending $5 per day, we might get 1 click per day. That's not really going to allow us to compete long term. But if we find our winning creatives and we apply them to the scaling phase here, we can set an ad set budget that is much higher, because we're only going to have 1 winning ad set now. Like, we're going to call this round 1 of scaling. We're going to put our 3 winners into the ad set. Again, let's just say we have 1 ad set here, and we're going to put our 3 winning ads in from our testing phase. 1, 2, 3. And we're just going to set this budget at, let's just say, $40 a day, right? We're doing life insurance or something like that. We want to set this ad set budget high enough so that we can capture a few leads per day. Like, especially if we've captured a few leads in the testing phase, maybe we're seeing leads like the $10 to $20 range, or if we've done some research and let's just say it's life insurance and we know leads are going to cost us 10 to 15 bucks, we want to set an ad set budget that's going to allow us to get at least 2 to 3 leads per day. Ideally, this would be closer to like, you know, $50 to $60. If we're in roofing or home services, ideally this would be, you know, $80 to $100. Okay, because we want to be able to compete with the market and actually get leads, because when we get leads, we give Facebook data and then it learns what we're looking for. So we want to go into the scaling phase with confidence and be able to set a budget that's going to help us win. So again, pretty straightforward at this point. We take our winners from the initial test. You know, if we don't have any, obviously we have to review. If you run this test and you don't have any winners, then you have an issue with your creative, like 95% of the time, or you set up your campaign weird or something. In that case, shoot me a message or post in the group. But if you have winners from that initial test, then you're going to throw them into a dynamic creative ad set. You don't necessarily it's not dynamic creative isn't mandatory. If you want to set these up non-dynamic creative, that's fine. Just for anyone who doesn't know, dynamic creative is essentially allowing you to preload up to 10 different ad creatives into an ad set or into a single ad, and then 5 different ad copies, and then it will just mix and match those. So you can have up to 10 creatives, 5 copies, and 5 headlines, and Facebook will Rolodex them around and try and find the best combinations. The reason that we like using dynamic creative in the scaling phase is we can give Facebook our winners. We're confident in them now. We know that they all work, and now we can see which combinations work best. We only want to use dynamic creative once we know all those ads are winners. And so we throw them in a dynamic creative ad set. I think that, and a lot of this, for me, I'm all about speed, and I want to test as much as I can and scale as fast as I can. So is there a way, you could set up an ad set with a $50 per day budget or $40 per day budget, and you could set up 10 different ads in there, right? And those 10 different ads Facebook's going to distribute that $50 as it sees fit over that 10 different ads. Maybe it will send the $47 to one again, but at least you know this is a winning ad. And hopefully at that point it's getting leads. And sure, is it taking all the spend? Yes, but you're getting leads at this point because you've proven it. You can do that, or you can do dynamic creative. It actually doesn't really matter in terms of Facebook's algo. Facebook is still going to have a say over where it sends those dollars. I talked about the ad set budget already. We want to set like 2 times estimated cost per lead at least. This is going to allow us to scale a little bit better. This is not a hard and fast rule. This is just what I've found anecdotally makes sense. And then we're going to monitor performance. Does it meet the KPIs? Yes, we're going to scale that ad set. No, adjust budget or creative. Maybe go back to testing phase and kind of loop yourself around here. But if we're meeting KPIs in terms of cost per lead, at this point, all we care about is cost per lead. If our CTR dropped to 0.8, but we're getting a really good cost per lead, we can most likely scale that campaign because, again, at the end of the day, as long as you're getting leads for a good cost, that's really the KPI you care about. If you're seeing a low CTR, all that means, and I actually saw this, there's a guy, Juan, who's in Leadbase Pro. He's getting leads for a good cost. Like he wanted leads for, I think, about $40. He's getting them for like 20, but his CTR is around 0.8. But all that means is that he's in a really good spot, and he's probably going to be able to cut his lead cost even further because he can probably improve this with better creatives. And then he's going to see, if he improved his CTR to 1.6, he doubled it. That means his lead cost, in theory, would get cut in half. So that's just an opportunity to improve over time. That's essentially it in terms of the 2 phases here. Again, this is kind of like a cycle that we can go through. We should always have a testing phase running, and we can always have a scaling phase running. So your first scaled, let's just say your first scaling phase works and you've got that ad set running. You probably want to scale that at maybe 10% every, 2 days to be safe. If you run another testing phase, you could set up an additional scaling ad set as well, and you can have multiple scaling ad sets. Eventually you could combine them all into one kind of mega ad set as well, so that Facebook's not cannibalizing itself. So I'm just gonna let some people in here. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense in terms of, let me just see the questions here. To see the click rate, do you need pixel set up? Could you share what is best way to warm up a Facebook account? How many photos and videos should I run for solar in California? So I think those last 2 are relevant. So to see the click-through rate, you would need a pixel setup if you're running to a landing page. Sorry, no, you wouldn't actually need a pixel setup to see the click-through rate, because that's just being tracked inside of Facebook. But I mean, if you're running to a landing page, and just generally, you should have a pixel setup regardless. The new stuff, we're going to be releasing this new training in free. I'm thinking it'll be ready in May. I'm quite sure it will be. We are going to be focusing still on lead forms because it's just an easier way to get started, and do have text verification on lead forms now, and they have the options for not auto-filling lead forms. So lead forms, I think, are going to be a little bit higher quality. So regardless of if you're running to lead forms or landing page, Facebook will track CTR. But if you're running to a landing page, then you want to have a pixel set up regardless. You're kind of just wasting traffic at that point. Even if you're just in the testing phase, you need a pixel. Yes, you'll be able to rewatch this video 100%. I know I'm kind of like moving through this quickly, and I said 20 minutes and it's already been 30, so it's just me. But yeah, we'll have a replay of this, and we could, we can do more videos like this too with more examples. I'll be posting some YouTube videos with some results to some of the testing I'm running with this. How many photo and video ads should I run for solar in California? Hazabula, did I say your name right there? I mean, again, it just depends on your budget, right? So ideally, like 5 videos and 5 images, up to 10 videos, 10 images. It just depends on how much you can afford to spend in total, because obviously it can add up very quickly. If you're spending $5 per ad set and you have 10 ad sets, that's $50 per day. You can, kind of do the math there on how much that can add up. Again, this all depends on, are you running these for yourself? Are you running these for a client? If you've got a big client that's paying you a retainer and ad spend, then you say to them, hey, I'm going to run this test. It's going to be $100 a day. And then you go from there. If you're running these for your own business, then, I mean, obviously you have to look at it from an ROI perspective, and you might say, I'm going to spend $50 a day for the next 5 days. That's going to be $250 during this testing phase. Hopefully I get some leads from that, but really what you're doing is kind of making an investment into potentially setting up a lead gen machine that can work for you long term without wasting a bunch of your time. Sal, I definitely will give you guys the recording, so don't worry about that, guys. Yeah, so I mean, like, again, depending on where you're at, your budget's going to differ, but this is that testing phase. Even if you got no leads in the testing phase, the learning that you'll get from that is so important, because you're going to be able to determine what type of creatives people are responding to. And I definitely encourage you guys to, get a little crazy with some of these creatives. Like, you can make some safe ones. You can use some templates that you've seen before, but then try some weird, like, out there crazy stuff. Try some like different hooks. Try a bunch of different things, because the ones that you don't think will work or are going to work usually work. I'll share a link. I'll share the link to this recording after, and then I'll share with you guys the video that got the highest click-through rate in one of the tests I ran, which is down here. And I'll talk about this very quickly because I want to get to a Q&A session here. But I ran, so there's 2 ways to do the test itself. You can set it up manually, where you literally create an ad set and put one video in it. You create another ad set, you put another video in it. Create another ad set, you put another video in it, right? So I spent some money here. I didn't get any leads on this test, which is fine, but you can see here I've got my CTRs are all determined here. And you can see, like, this CTR is 10 times better than this one down here. So this image, I'd be turning this one off. I'd be turning all the ones off under 1%, and I'd continue to run the ones that are over 1% in this case, right? And so this video here, I'll share this one with you guys after. It's this really weird, like, AI slideshow video that I made with revid.ai, and it's just funny how weird it is. I'll put that in the chat here, revid.ai. It's funny how weird of a video is, but it worked well in terms of click-through rate. Is click-through rate everything? No, maybe that video won't convert, but at least I have an idea of what's stopping people from scrolling, right? Option 2 for you guys, you can go check out AdsCook. I'm not going to focus too much in this video on it because I do have a YouTube video on AdsCook, but AdsCook allows you to set up, as you can see here, I have 24 ads, and you just load your ads into AdsCook, and it automatically sets up the single ad sets with the creatives individually. And you can see I've got some pretty high click-through rates here, so I've turned off the other ones. So I just ran these 2 tests separately, just to see which one would work better. And AdsCook did provide a bit more of an efficient test here and did produce better results for whatever reason. But either of these are fine. AdsCook's pretty cheap. I do recommend it. I think it's pretty sweet. But you could also do this manually like this, especially if you just had like maybe 6 to 8 creatives. It's not that hard to set it up manually. You don't need ads cook. This was the campaign I showed you after we actually went through the scaling phase. We had $14 leads. We went down to $3 leads by actually testing ads and then throwing them into a dynamic creative ad set. I'll talk about this maybe after if we have time. Hopefully that all made sense to you guys. I usually do more of Q&A sessions, but I thought it'd be fun to do an actual session where we go over a concept. And if you guys like that, then I'd definitely be down to do more of this kind of stuff. We could focus more on the actual creatives next time. And we can kind of go through these on a monthly basis. I'm going to jump into Q&A time now. And obviously, if you guys have any questions about this specifically, that's ideal, but I'm happy to answer some other questions as well. What Tom says, I created an auto insurance ad. The clicks were coming at $3 per click. I know, too expensive. I had 4 creatives in one ad set. In this case, what do you do? What should be the budget of each ad set? The payout is around $10 per lead. Gotcha. So you're being paid $10 per lead, but you're getting $3 clicks. 4 creatives in one ad set. So I mean, in this case, I would revert to this type of testing because that might be a pretty tough one, honestly, because if you're getting paid $10 per lead, you're gonna need to get clicks at 50 cents or less, I would say. The cost per click is going to have obviously a large effect on our cost per lead. If we're getting clicks for $1 and 1 in 5 of them fill out our lead form or our landing page, or it converts at 20%, our lead cost will be $5. So, and that's a pretty high conversion rate. If you're getting clicks at 50 cents and you convert 10% of them, that's $5 per lead. If you can sell them for 10, I think that's about where you would need to be on that. Aris, if I have a new page, is it cool to run ads right away, or should it be warmed up in some way? Yeah, it's ideal to warm it up. There is some training in the free course on that. You can run a likes campaign to your page, make a few posts on your page. Just give it 2 or 3 days of warm up campaign just to season the account a little bit. I find sometimes if you just create a new account and start running lead ads right away, there's a tendency to get shut down. So it's important to just warm up with a likes campaign, which again, there's training on that in the course. Oh, another question about that. Yeah, it's in the free course there, guys. Yeah, how to get a likes campaign set up. You can run the likes campaign. You kind of run it all over the world. You set up a simple photo, and then you can get 500 likes on your page for $20, just to give Facebook, make Facebook happy, kind of. Join. Douglas, I will get back to you on Skool. Sorry, I always try and catch up on messages, but I do get a lot of them. I'm sure you guys can understand that. Try and answer them every day if I can. Ryan, what niches have you had the best results with Facebook, and do you run Google ads or Facebook ads for lead gen? We spend, I'd say we're kind of at 50-50 at this point. I was definitely leaning more towards Google ads in terms of the amount I was spending, but, and this is maybe a relevant time to bring this up, we did develop a new funnel that's helping us actually crush it on Facebook, and we've started to spend a little bit more back to Facebook. I'd say we're probably spending a couple grand a day on each of them, and our biggest focus this year, and this is kind of leading into a lot of the new stuff that we're going to be creating at Leadbase, is just getting the highest quality leads possible. Obviously at a price that makes sense, but I'm just at the point where my best clients are paying me more per lead than the market, but I'm getting them better leads than the market, and that just works so much better than signing up a client, throwing up a campaign, generating them leads, and then the leads are garbage. So everything that we're literally changing a lot of the training just to be focused on the quality of the leads that we're generating, because and that's allowed us to make things work on Meta. If you run if you just throw up a really simple lead form and you have just kind of very generic creatives, chances are Facebook's going to produce lower quality leads for you. But we're definitely finding that you can generate high quality leads on both of them. And I will show you what kind of funnel that we're working on. This is my client's month before, and this is us implementing this new funnel for them. Literally, I watched their sales numbers. I was refreshing the page, and it was crushing. We did this This is like literally the day we implemented this funnel. It was nuts. So I'll show you guys at the end of this. What's your opinion on promoting lead magnets for estate planning or final expense and nurturing, or just try lead form and call plus SMS? I think both, which is not that most helpful answer, but one thing that, a piece of a big piece of what we're doing this year is focusing more on content. I think we were guilty of just being lead gen guys, that we put out direct response campaigns, we generated leads, and then like, hey, good luck with those leads. I have a YouTube video coming out next week that's going to talk a bit more about this. And again, our training in Leadbase Pro is going to be focused on what types of content you need, because I think all the faceless lead gen brands are, it's kind of like someone fills out a faceless lead gen brand. It's very easy to forget, but once you have a face behind it and some actual content, that does make a huge difference. So I think at all times you should be running, try lead form with SMS. There's actually guys in Leadbase Pro. There's a guy named Sam. He's been running leads for 2 years now, just with lead forms, and he gets like a 6-to-1 ROI for his final expense business. Like he's just been crushing it with lead forms. That's what he does, and he's got it dialed with lead forms. So you should always be running a direct response type of campaign. I think promoting, maybe 10 to 20% of your budget going to lead magnets, as long as you're doing that properly, something worth doing. You could also have the lead magnet, on the thank you page of, maybe the lead goes through the lead form for final expense, and then on the final page, it's like, hey, one more step, book your call with me here. I'm also going to be sending you via email a little video about myself and this ebook that's going to show you XYZ. Those types of things actually make a huge difference, which is kind of obvious. Like, content marketing's been around for a long time. And so we're trying to focus, again, on ebooks, on listicles. So it's like, hey, here's 5 tips that you should know about getting final expense insurance, or here's a little testimonial of one of my clients. I helped them save 20 grand or whatever it is. And ideally showing your face. This client here, we implemented this new funnel, and what we also did at the same time is produced more content, started sending, and my face is on it, just in emails going out to them and kind of giving them like, hey, here's how Bob saved X, or here's how we did Y. My face is on it. People on the sales calls are literally like, oh, I saw that guy in the video. He talked about it. Because now they've attached the lead, or the content, or sorry, I guess the service to a real human being, rather than just be a floating page on the internet, right? So I think that is very powerful. And again, that's almost kind of obvious as I say it. Like, these are the leads that we generate aren't just data; they're actual human beings looking for a solution. And sometimes I think I'm guilty of thinking it as like, oh, I got 50 leads today. That's data, but those are 50 people looking for a solution. And so the more that we can, provide them with high value content, the better. So that is a very long answer to your question, but yeah, I think focusing on direct response, but really supplementing that with an ebook. Maybe you're running a separate ebook campaign and you're saying, hey, fill out the form to get the ebook. I'm also going to be calling you to review that ebook with you. Courtesy call, just, hey, do you have any questions about the ebook? I actually ran a campaign like that. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a campaign like that in the past. I haven't really been able to make that work again, but it worked really well for timeshare cancellation, because it was the niche where people didn't understand what was even being done to get them out of their timeshare. There was a lot of scams, and there was a lot of issues with the industry. So we gave them a 40-page ebook that told them exactly how to they could just get out for free if they wanted to. They realized it was 100 hours of work, and then they answered the phone, and we told them, hey, here's all the steps we do. So you could do it for free, or you could pay us $5 grand or whatever it is. And then people actually responded really well to that. So don't just give a free ebook. Say, I'm going to be providing a free ebook, and I'm going to give you a call just to chat about it. And, if you have any questions, absolutely no pressure. You want to call those leads not with a sales mindset, with a nurture mindset. I think that's really important. If you go into like an ebook lead and you're like, oh yeah, so you want to close right now? They're like, dude, you just sent me an ebook. Like, calm down. Hopefully you guys don't mind that I'm talking so fast, but I try to crush as much of these as I can. I'm running a look-like targeting. I have some data already. Should I go to the scaling phase? Adebayo, do you have have you generated leads from that look-like targeting already? Like, it depends on the kind of results that you've gotten so far. Not sure if you're talking. I can't hear you there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah. Hi. I've done I'm in the insurance space, Medicare.
Okay.
I've like I was getting leads. I've gotten like over 100 leads, which I've turned to customers because I want for myself.
Yep.
And yeah, so I just want to scale it now. I have like 100 plus customers, so I just want like
Okay.
Facebook to give me like someone's similar customers like this 100. So should I just go straight to scaling, or what should I do? Or should I test again? I already have some winning creatives already.
Okay.
So I just want Facebook to give me more of these customers.
Yeah, I think you have 100 customers. Is that what you said?
100 plus, yeah.
100 plus. Okay. Yeah, the more the better. 100 would be about the minimum. But I would test a lookalike audience, and then it might be worth, if the lookalike audience doesn't work, I would test some of the like a more broad audience on Facebook, or maybe give it some interest. But you could start with the lookalike for sure. And then honestly, I would do both. I would put your winning creatives into a scaling asset or ad set. But I would always be running a testing phase as well. And so what you can do is take, let's say you have 3 winning creatives, take those concepts and then create other ads, like slightly different but similar to those. Try some like different variants of the hooks and try some different things there. But then also in the testing phase, try some completely different stuff. Like we always want to be trying some like completely new crazy ideas out as well. Again, you could use revid.ai, you could use captions.ai. I'll actually put this I'll share this board with you guys as well, and then you can look at these after. Ideogram and Canva, of course. These are the things that I use for testing.
And I did try videos, it didn't work. Like
Okay.
images are what really work for me, like for the
Right.
industry. So I just focus solely on just images now. And do you recommend lookalike at all, or do you just recommend just broad audiences?
I haven't used lookalikes in a while, but you're the one actually closing these deals yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, you have kind of more easy access to data because you're running it yourself. I don't really ask my clients for it, because once you have several hundred conversions in your account, you've kind of like, Facebook's already really created its own lookalike audience on, by default, because it has those leads, and it's going to continually look for more leads like that. I think if you have a lookalike, it's always worth testing, just to one, see if it gets you lower cost leads, but it might actually generate you higher quality leads. So I would 100%, plug your winning creatives into that lookalike audience in like a scaling phase situation. If that works and that lookalike is producing good results, then I would say continue to run with that lookalike audience. But it at some point it's going to be worth maybe testing just a broad kind of wide open audience as well. Are you in just certain states? Or are you US wide?
Yes, wide.
US wide. Yeah, you do have the ability then to segment out your targeting a little bit. I assume this is that 50 plus or 55 plus for age targeting?
Um, um, yeah, yes, yeah.
I guess your special category though, probably, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, gotcha. Right. So that doesn't even. Oh, I mean, if you're special category, then I don't believe you can even do lookalikes, unfortunately.
No, okay. So the reason, like the previous campaign I was running before, I was getting both good customers and bad customers. And those bad customers, they disguised like good customers, and it just wasted my time. So I just gathered all my good customers, and I was okay, can I get to more of this type of customers?
Right.
That's the whole point of trying to run the lookalike audience.
Right. The problem is with, like I said, with the special ads category, it won't actually allow you to create a lookalike audience. So what you have to do instead is, are you running just to lead forms?
Yes, for lead. So after the lead forms, then I put like in the end, like secure your spots. We have 5 spotlights, something like that. So when they click on it, it goes to my landing page and they book a meeting with me. So
Okay,
that's
so they go to the landing page after. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so what you're gonna want to do here is we want to like give some better feedback to Facebook and kind of try and sort out who the high quality leads are and who the low quality leads are. So do you have any what like attribute um seems to produce like a lower quality lead or the time wasters? Like, is there a way that you think you could sort those people out via your questioning at all?
The funny thing is that they do answer like my good customers. So for example, I put like you have to have like maybe like 10 plus agents in your agencies, stuff like that. And they do answer yes. But on the call, on the meeting, I realized that they're just single agent and they were just lying on the form.
Hmm.
So like I got frustrated with them. I said that I asked a very precise question for you to answer, but you like you are dishonest in there.
Right.
So all this just got me so frustrated, and like I want just more of this type of customers.
Right, that makes sense. That might, I mean, it's tough because you know, you can't always sort those types of things out. I think if you had a more extensive like a quiz on a landing page, so instead of going to a lead form, you could start to test like build out a landing page with a more extensive quiz and just experiment with asking more of those questions. And you know, maybe if it's like some of these people lie on these things, so that's why it's obviously difficult. But if there's something you could determine that could sort the people out that are going to be wasting your time, you send them to a thank you page that that doesn't count that as a lead. So we're telling Facebook then, okay, I've determined who the time waster are. Is if they answer questions 1, 2, and 3 like this in my quiz, I'm going to send them to a thank you page that just says, sorry, we can't help you. I'm not going to count that as a lead. And then Facebook knows not to go find more people like that. When you're in the special ad category, that's really the only way that you can make it so you start to teach the algorithm and the pixel over time. So Sean says, try asking one level deeper, where is your agent team located? Yeah, so try and just get some specific questions in there. Really try and like dig into things a little bit more. That could help, you know, get rid of people who are lying or tire kicking. Again, it's never going to be perfect. When you go to a landing page, you will tend to see some higher quality traffic come through. So that could be worth testing. And I'll show you guys quickly. Like this is the lander that we're going to be basing an entire new set of training on. That's our goal is to release this May 15th in Leadbase Pro. This is the funnel that I was saying for my client worked very well. It's more of a click-through funnel. So when people, you don't even see my screen, my bad. When people come through through a Facebook ad, instead of going to a simple lead form, which is just very, again, low friction, right? This is a type of funnel that we put some friction in place once we've determined, we run our testing phase, we've maybe run to some lead forms, we know we can get leads with our creatives. We want to run to a funnel that's a bit more like this, where we can just put some friction points in place. So, I mean, this is just kind of a sneak peek of something that we're working on, but we have this, one of the versions of this is like a VSL right here, where you have like a 5-minute video explaining who you're looking for and the types of clients that you're looking for. Again, reviews, offer stacking. I definitely recommend reading Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets. It's a really good foundational marketing book that talks about offer stacking, kind of stacking the different benefits that you have for your clients. And then they would click through. Can I click on here? No, I can't. Click through to a quiz. We've actually built a custom quiz inside of Unbounce, so you don't have to use LeadsHook for this. But doing something like this would be, I think you would sort out the people that you don't want to talk to, and then you could also, if they answer the question incorrectly or in a way that doesn't satisfy your logic, you can send them to a page that won't fire the pixel, and therefore you're not counting that traffic towards your pixel and then finding more people like that. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense, Adebayo?
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. Yeah, it really makes sense.
Yeah, if you run a test and you have any questions, just shoot me a message, and I can take a look at it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. I think someone raised their hand. Jason, question?
Yeah. Quick question. So just starting out off, I think I'm gonna do one of a couple niche like brick like pavers, pressure washing, or like epoxy flooring, something in that neighborhood.
Mhm.
But just kind of getting the ball rolling because I had customers in the like home service industry before,
Mhm.
but I was doing more like rank and rent type stuff, which I don't want to fool with anymore. But I just want to do more like paid ads, like like per lead, what we're talking about. Um, would would you say, just to kind of get some wins coming in? I know we're supposed to test. You told me when I just joined the other day. You said, I need to like test my, make sure I've got a winner, like
Mhm.
and get leads in. Um, would that be like the best way to kind of get the ball rolling? Like, you think, like, as far as, because you said I need to, to begin with, because I wasn't getting the. You said, hey, to start, you got to spend a little bit of your own money to test, and now I get the whole thing. I was like, 'cause I know in the before I joined Pro, it was like we charged them up front, but now I get the bigger picture now.
Mhm.
So my question is, would you say get some winning Facebook ads, and then obviously, like, kind of, I'm not, maybe tell somebody like, hey, I've got leads in hand ready to go. Um, and would you let them try them for free, or would you say I'm just throwing out a random number, like $20 a lead? I mean, if any of that makes sense. I'm just trying to figure out if that's kind of a good way to start off.
Yeah, for sure. I can speak to that for sure. So there's a few different options at this phase, and depending on what you're doing. So again, if you're gonna be using like a pay per lead model, there's kind of two options. One is if you can afford to spend some of your own money, that is, I think it's worth it because you can just gain some confidence when test some creatives. Hopefully, you get a few leads, and you can say, okay, I got leads for $15. I can sell them for 25. I think I can make this work. I think that if you want to do that and you want to gain some confidence, that's great. If you can afford to spend, 100, $200 of your own money. When I go into a niche though, I'm pitching clients day one. I'm like, I'm going to get an order for 50 leads and then I'm going to start running some ads and I'm going to learn as I go. And I'm going to like iterate as quickly as possible and get as much feedback as possible. So I kind of skip the testing phase. Depending on, it kind of depends, but like usually I'll just skip that phase because I'm confident that I can generate leads in most niches. So it is up to you. Like if you want to spend $100 using the testing phase here, and then get a few leads under your belt, and then you can go into that conversation with some confidence. I don't like giving away free leads. I think it just kind of sets you up for like not the kind of relationship you want to have with the client. Um, I prefer to kind of sell a package, but one thing that we've been exploring on some of the group calls that we've had in Pro is offering 5 leads, but really vetting those leads beforehand. Because what you don't want to do is get a client on the hook, tell them, you know what, let's just do 5 leads. Like just start with that, and then you give them 5 leads and they're garbage and these leads suck and they don't, move forward with you.
Yeah.
So if I was going to give somebody 5 leads, I'd want to call those leads beforehand, or
That,
at least
that I
have very good confidence that they're good leads.
Okay. And then quick question on the back end of that. When I'm doing, because that's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna test and just make sure. Okay, hey, my copy, my creative images, however I'm gonna do it, is good. I've got leads coming in. Because I agree with you. Like, I do want to kind of have that confidence built up.
Yep.
When I'm doing just a basic test, am I okay just do a, like, simple lead form, create my lead form, like Facebook's lead form, and kind of, do them that way? Is one question. The second question is, and again, I'm gonna stick for a little while, at least, in that sort of niche that I told you about, those basic like home service niches. Once I get start getting customers, as far as like the do you recommend me putting them into like high level and like going all out with those customers, or what? So one question for me, just to test, keep it basic, lead form, jot it down myself, and make sure they're good leads. Second, when I have people on the hook, do I want to have like the full setup? Like, okay, hey, when I onboard you as a client, I've got your CRM, blah blah blah, and nurturing the leads, all that good stuff.
Yeah, good question. I do have to run pretty quick here, guys. So if there's any questions that didn't get answered here, I'm going to post this in the group. Then you guys can put your questions under there. I could even send some Loom videos or something. To answer your question, Jason. So yeah, I think starting with lead forms is, if you've never run ads before, I recommend starting with lead forms because it's a good way just to test your creatives, and lead forms are like the lowest friction. So if we can get some lead form leads, at least we know the creatives people are resonating with the creatives. We could take lead forms. There's kind of a few different steps. So start with very simple lead form first. Step 2 is add more questions to your lead form and add text verification, because now they have text verification with lead forms, which is really cool. And it actually works. I just got my first lead on it. I just ran a test with it yesterday, made a YouTube video on it that you guys will see. So simple lead form, text verification lead form, then move to a simple landing page with like a simple form, then move to a more extensive like funnel after that. So we're not only are we testing our ads in phases, we're testing like the funnel in phases as well. I think it's important to do that. And then in terms of like the go high level side of things, if you're working with home services, I think it does make sense to offer some of those extra services as like maybe you offer for an extra 300 or 500 bucks a month. I'm going to set up automations for you. I'm going to do a couple things inside go high level so that I can help you nurture these leads better, because a lot of the sole proprietor businesses aren't as good at following up with leads. You could take it a step further and even help them hire like an appointment setter or a fronter to set appointments for them, because they're not going to be very good at lead management. Stay tuned for that as well. I'm speaking with someone literally right now about hopefully kind of getting set up with the ability to hire people like fronters, cold callers, and lead managers, so that we can supply our clients with those, because I have clients that I've referred like 10 to 15 lead management setters to them, and their sales numbers go up like crazy because their sales team actually focuses on closing rather than chasing leads all day. So the answer is yes. Like if you can supplement your lead buyers by helping them with management, that is going to be, obviously a value add, and it'll help you be a little more sticky as well into their businesses, because some of these guys aren't going to be very good at working digital leads. I like epoxy flooring, by the way. I think it's a good niche. My friend owns a business. He just did my garage, and it looks really good. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
I do have to run, guys. Adebayo says, I offer for 5 free leads to keep the client's guard down, and when they see the quality, they become a paying client. That's how I've gotten a majority of my clients. Okay, so that's make sure the 5 free leads are the highest quality. Yeah, so I mean, I guess there's nothing necessarily wrong, I suppose, with 5 free leads, as long as you ensure that they are super high quality. I would prefer to be paid just to get them give them a little bit of skin in the game. I find sometimes when you give free leads, they just don't take them seriously, but obviously Adebayo had success with that. And I think, again, as long as they're good quality and you get them hooked on it, that's what's important for that little test that you do with them. So anyways, guys, I'll post the link. If you have any more questions, let me know. Hopefully you found this informative, and also comment like if there's other things you want to learn. I kind of have a sequence I want to go through in terms of these free calls, but